Hello. Today I'm taking a look at a white wine from the northern Rhone. So I've got here a bottle of 2017 Saint-Peray Cuvee Prestige from Stephane Robert's Domaine de Tournon. Saint-Péray, I suppose, is slightly overshadowed. We're in the northern Rhone, in vineyards around the town of Valence, but it's slightly overshadowed by its more northerly neighbours, Hermitage and Condrieu, for their white wines. Condrieu making wine from Viognier, but Hermitage using Marsanne and Roussanne as they do in Saint-Péray. Saint-Péray actually probably stands out from the fact that it makes a sparkling wine, but this is quite definitely still. Domaine de Tournon, founded in 1994 by Stephane Robert, and in 2014 the winery sort of took its name from a railway tunnel which he converted into his winery. So a 170 metre long stone railway tunnel that went under the mountains from Valence to Vernus-en-Vivray, and somewhere that has ideal sort of temperature conditions for making wine, and stands out somewhat. The estate is probably one of the preeminent producers of Saint-Péray wines. In fact, they make 4 of them. Their top wine, the Pur Blanc, comes out top of our list of most searched for on our website of Saint-Pérays. This particular wine comes 3rd. Also, some of the more expensive Saint-Pérays as well. I mean, again, the Pur, his top wine, is the most expensive, and this comes, I think, about 5th, and has an average price normally of about $52 American dollars. So the wines have a richness, and that's derived from the grape varieties, as I say, Roussanne and Marsanne. So Roussanne giving weight, and Marsanne giving aromatics. Quite interestingly, the Domaine actually goes on to make 2 other Saint-Péray, one a cuvee entirely from Marsanne, and the 4th one a cuvee entirely from Roussanne. These wines are then, they have other reasons for being so rich. It's not just the variety. For instance, the vineyards these come from are on granitic soils, so they're free draining and they restrain the vigour of the vine, and so giving concentrated fruit. The vines in this particular vineyard are 60 years old, so again, lower yields, more concentrated fruit. Winemaking involves the use of oak. There's about 20% of new oak in this, giving some vanilla notes to the wine, but the balance in older oak up to 4 years, so giving some warmth in the ferment as well, and adding roundness from that. What else is there to say? The vineyards here are entirely maintained by hand, so there's no manual picking, manual tending to the vines completely, as I suppose would be normal on a hillside site. So let's have a look at the wine anyway. We've got a nice sort of medium depth there of yellow colour. When you swirl the wine, it seems fairly viscous. The wine, I don't know how easily you can see it there, but it has some fairly noticeable tears flowing down the glass there, suggesting a wine with reasonable weight and reasonable alcohol. It says 13.5% on the bottle there, so that would seem to fit. So let's talk about the aromas, shall we? The aromas have a nice intensity. They're not pronounced and sort of jumping from the glass, but and they're harmonious. The fruit nature is a little restrained. It sort of seems like stone fruit, but it's not particularly ripe stone fruit. It's not as if you had a Viognier that would be bursting with sort of apricot or nectarine or peach and those sort of things. This is more sort of slightly green stone fruit, slightly underripe. There aren't green notes to it, but the fruit expression is restrained like that. I suppose green mango is that kind of notes there, but melded into this, you've got notes of dairy from lees aging. You've got notes of vanilla. You've got tiny touches of sort of spicy oak, cinnamon, those sort of notes coming in there. Then you've got lifted top notes. There's tiny notes of sort of blossom or of lime sort of starts to open up from inside it there as well. So a lovely complexity and nicely together. So let's have a taste, shall we? The wine is certainly rich and has a fairly oily texture. During the attack, in the first instance, in the front of the mouth, there's a lovely fresh acidity, but the richness of the fruit and the alcohol rather take over on them to give a warmth and a roundness to the finish. But at the same time, actually, that finish has some perfume to it as well. In that first instance, there's that sort of slightly underripe mango sort of note coming through again, and again sort of layered with notes of dairy, which I suppose adds a sort of a creamy texture, oily texture, and vanilla hints as well. I suppose touch of a pastry there as well, that sort of brioche type texture and flavour as well. The flavours are lasting nicely, and they're opening on my mouth. I'm getting hints of blossom just at the end there. Maybe that's slightly warmth as well, maybe a little bit of mineral note coming through at the finish there. It's a complex wine. It's, I think, nicely mature now at 5 years old. It's about at its optimum. It'll probably keep for 3 or 4 years quite happily without declining in the slightest. It's a wine that you'd need to pair against some sort of fairly rich food, which would complement it quite nicely. And I suppose also you probably could age it to go into a more developed stage if you wanted to keep it for 10 years, and it would start to take on much more rich, probably sort of quite oily flavours and that sort of thing, which some people wouldn't necessarily enjoy, but could be fascinating to see. So clearly a really high quality wine, very, very interesting. Domaine de Tournel's Cuvée Prestige Saint-Péray from 2017. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye now.